Yo, Wilt is still here, ready to give you part two of my anime history review. Some good action adventure suggestions for those of you who looking to get in some good old combat action, some great fights. Check out number one on the list, Airmaster. Airmaster was a great series. You had basically this chick who's like close to 7 feet tall and stands out like a sore thumb, but she comes from a background of basically being a gymnast and was basically, I think, a front runner for a gold medal or something, and she ends up changing that and changing lifestyles all of a sudden, and basically goes into street fighting. So, and she basically applies her gymnastics and stuff like that to street fighting because she hovers in the air, does flips and stuff, beats people by kicking them in the face horribly. I mean, this is no Chun Li. You know what I'm saying? This is like Cammy and Chun Li with like Sagat's height. So if you think that's something you'd be interested in, definitely check out Airmaster. Great series. Next on the list, number two, Buso Rankin. If you have never seen Buso Rankin, you will love it. It's in my opinion, it's kind of similar to Bleach as far as like the beginning, and as far as like basically if you take the beginning of Bleach and just kind of run with that, not necessarily the direction they went in with it, but it pretty much is guy is gets caught up in this kind of supernatural fight with these monsters, whatever. I believe he dies. Then this girl that basically comes in, helps him, and basically gives him this little power spear thing that basically becomes his heart, and that basically becomes and with that basically gets the powers to basically be able to fight and stuff. So he learns how to fight the monsters and things of that nature. So definitely check out Buso Rankin. The ending was tremendously good. The final fight was awesome, in my opinion, close to legendary and classic. Next up on the list, Chrome Shelled Regios. Chrome Shelled Regios is one of those shows that has a lot of great character development. You basically have this guy who doesn't really want to have anything to do with fighting anymore. I believe he's been in the military almost all his life. He made it like a top ranked soldier in this great division, whatever. And he basically left and was like, you know what, I quit. I just want to chill out, have a normal life. I don't really want this anymore. But because of the fact he goes to school and there's a street and there's a little outside skirmish, he basically saves this girl, uses a move that, you know what I'm saying, but normally most people don't even know how to do. So he gets noticed and pretty much gets dragged back into fighting again. So definitely looking at Chrome Shelled Regios. Love the characters around him. You know, you basically see the characters around him even kind of grow up a little bit and become more mature and things. So definitely check out Chrome Shelled Regios, another great series. Next on the list, Gwen Saga. Gwen Saga is pure savagery. I mean, it is just amazing. The opening of the show is like this kingdom is falling down. Is pretty much being conquered and destroyed and maimed and burned, and you have these children who are a prince and a princess, and they have to run away to another land where a different relative lives, and they end up being protected by this being who goes by the name of Gwen, and he basically is a person with a leopard head, and who has no memory of who he was, has no memory of where he came from, and doesn't know anything and doesn't remember anything about himself. But all he knows is that he can fight and he's super swole, and he can fight barefisted or fight with a sword. It doesn't matter. He is just that nice. So he basically ends up protecting them, becomes their guardian, and they end up traveling together, and you basically watch their journey together, whatever, and watching these kids mature and having to accept the role of the card they've been dealt, and Gwen having to try and basically acknowledge being a guardian and not necessarily so much a fighter, and also his path of trying to figure out who he is. So definitely check out Gwen Saga. That's another great one. Next up on the list, Gungrave. Gungrave is a pure revenge tale. I don't know how people feel about, saying, revenge, but if you love the movie Faster with The Rock, you're gonna love this because it's 10 times better and 10 times more gruesome. Gungrave is basically the story of a guy who got screwed over royally and just was like, you know what, y'all niggas killed me, y'all did this, I did that for y'all, forget it, you know what, you're all dead. And he literally runs down the list of everybody who ever had a hand or so much as a breath in his situation. So definitely check out Gungrave if you're into action, if you're into, saying the revenge tirade types. This is a great series. I loved it, and I was hesitant at watching at first, but I decided to give it a shot and was so glad I did. Next up, Kiba. Kiba is basically, to me, a story about a boy and his dreams. It's basically that classic tale of, you know what, I'm tired of what I'm looking at. I don't like being here. I don't want to, there's got to be more life than just what I'm surrounded by. And basically his passion, his dreams leads him to a totally different world where in this one he basically has powers and is granted powers and abilities to do basically what he wants, and you see him grow up and basically find himself and find what it actually is he truly does want. And it's a great story. I loved it. That's going to definitely be one I'm probably going to rewatch myself soon once I finish up a couple other shows I'm watching and catching up on. So definitely check out Kiba. That's a great series. Next up, Law of Ueki. Now, Law of Ueki, I was hesitant to put up here because it's on that borderline of great and good. But what I love about it is the fact that you basically have this free-for-all tournament of humans who are fighting on behalf of angels for God. Because God was like, you know what, I'm bored. Let's have a tournament where humans can participate, and if they win, and the winner will basically get will get this gift of being able to grant whatever wish they want, and it could be totally destroying the world. I don't care. Let's just hold a tournament and see what happens. But it has to be only humans. So the main character Ueki, he holds his power of basically turning trash into trees, and he chose this power out of several other powers this angel could grant him. This is the one that he wanted, and he literally makes the most out of it by by basically doing a lot of good strategy and everything else. So that's the intrigue behind the Law of Ueki to me, is the fact that you have these people with all these weird powers, but they make the most out of them. And it's a great tale of, and you see a lot of great fights, a lot of great stories and things of that nature with the fights and things. So definitely check out Law of Ueki. That's a really great series. Next up, Scryed. Scryed had a lot of classic fights because to me it's like they took if you just went to Dragon Ball Z and you took basically the fight between Goku and Vegeta and you just never left that moment, you just kept going with those two fighters going back and forth. That's pretty much Scryed. I mean, you have Kazuya, who's like pretty much kind of an anti-hero. He's not really, out for the greater good. He's more out for himself. But he, he's developed and he's molded and he changes and he grows. But at the same time, he's rivaled by this guy who pretty much is like all about justice, all about the righteous and all this, that, and the other. And then to just go back and forth on a lot of different things, a lot of different scenarios. So Scryed definitely want to check out. There's a lot of great fights in there, a lot of great action scenes. It's totally great. Next up on the list, Senjo no Valkyrie, or also known as Valkyrie Chronicles. Valkyrie Chronicles was a great story. You have this war basically told, but basically where you have Valkyrie seen as pretty much demons or whatever, because the fact that they destroyed everything, they ruined everything, they totally tore down everything that happened before, and people are just fighting this war against people who are known as Valkyries. And then all of a sudden you have pretty much the revolutionary, the the you know what I'm saying, pretty much the underground army comes together, and someone on their side actually is a Valkyrie. So you have this great development of this person, you know what I'm saying, pretty much going from despising Valkyries to having to acknowledge that this person is a Valkyrie, and then going on from there. So Valkyrie Chronicles, definitely a great story, definitely a great series to check out. Definitely look into that. Next up on my list is Shura no Toki. Shura no Toki is, in my opinion, one of the best fighting animes out there, because you basically put in you basically put Ryu into anime. That's basically what you did. You put Ryu into an anime, and you not only did you put Ryu into an anime, but you put him in as a legend, because everyone in this time is still using swords and shields and things of that nature and staffs and stuff. And there's a legend going around of this guy who's basically unbeaten, but he fights bare-fisted. So people decide. So basically, one of the great weapon users of this time decides to fight him, and they're both pretty much, I think, undefeated. And when the fight ends, you know what I'm saying, they both walk away, but there's still more to it. And then in the next, and it doesn't end with just him. You actually go on to see his son develop and take over the name, and then his grandson develop and take over the name. So you basically see this pretty much generation to generation, and it focus. So what you're really getting is pretty much a more focus on the fighting style rather than just the actual person itself. Next up on my list is Tales of the Abyss. Tales of the Abyss is really, really good. You have this prince who's arrogant and cocky and feels like he can do everything because he's never been beaten, all of that and the other. And then one day he just basically gets his butt whooped by somebody who decides to invade the kingdom and take over his place. And he basically gets launched out farther away, so he has to travel back to his kingdom to try and beat this guy. And he travels with this one girl he pretty much grew up with, who is basically his only real friend. And the two of them basically team up, work together, go through trials, tribulations, meet new people, you know what I'm saying, and discover new friendships and things of that nature to basically take down this enemy threat. And you see this guy grow up and become more mature. You see a lot of development around him and his character surrounding him. You also see a lot of great fights. Tales of the Abyss is a really good show. Definitely check that one out. And last on my list, Tears to Tiara. Tears to Tiara is a really great show because you have this demon lord known as Auron, spelled A-R-A-W-N, Auron. He basically is resurrected by this guy who offered up this girl for a sacrifice, but instead of him killing the girl and serving the guy, he kills the guy who basically resurrected him and then saves the girl. So you have basically this play on what if a demon lord was resurrected, but he wasn't really evil, he was just his own character. So that's pretty much what you get with Tears to Tiara. You get this guy who's pretty much a laid-back guy, not really in a rush to do anything, doesn't really have a will to destroy the world or anything like that, which is what most people think of him as. And he basically, you know what I'm saying, basically you basically get the development before the series starts, and you're seeing pretty much why the development happened and what happened to get to this point. So those are my action adventure series, the names to check out. Definitely look at those and hit me up with comments or anything like that. Let me know what you think. And I will be back on the next tip for part 3, where I go into dark types animes that's pretty dark and the worst animes I've ever seen.